crossing the Marvel world and becoming Peter Parker. I thought becoming Spider-Man, known as Little Hulk, was also a very good choice. However, fate seemed to have played a big joke on him. With the sudden appearance of Spider-Woman, it completely shattered his inner luck. He doesn't want to be worshipped to heaven. Until he discovered a different life script in the farm left by his parents. Years later. The sky tore apart a wormhole. Wearing infinite gloves, Purple Potato Spirit Maiba confidently led his invincible fleet to Earth to gather diamonds. In the next moment, a figure broke through the air and punched Maiba away. You shouldn't have invaded my Earth. Novel keywords. Marvel. Spider-Man. No, I'm Superman. No pop-ups, Marvel. Spider-Man. No, I'm Superman. Download the complete TXT collection, Marvel. Spider-Man. No, I'm Superman. Latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. Xiao Haoke's identity was robbed. Seeking collection. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Xiao Haoke's identity was robbed. Seeking collection, New York, on a rural road leading to a border town. A retro Chevrolet vintage car is slowly driving. Waves of melodious country music drifted out of the partially open car windows, overflowing on the rural roads passed by vehicles. I saw a middle-aged couple sitting in the front row of the car. The man was leisurely driving the car, while his fingers were on the steering wheel, unable to help but slowly beat the rhythm to the wonderful music emanating from the car radio. The woman in the passenger seat, on the other hand, leaned half against her seat and gazed quietly at the slowly passing scenery outside the window. At this moment, everything looks very harmonious and quiet, just like a family on an outing. As a beautiful country music gradually finished playing, a dynamic music prelude suddenly came from the sound system. Hey, what's the matter with your head? Yeah. With the prelude, a dynamic rock music was played, making the originally quiet and peaceful car feel a bit cheerful in an instant. Even the middle-aged man driving increased his finger range as he danced with the music. Ben, turn down the music and don't wake Peter up. Although this dynamic song is very pleasant to listen to, it even makes the atmosphere inside the car more cheerful. But the dynamic music rhythm appears somewhat abrupt in the originally quiet car. Especially at this moment, there is a teenager dozing off in the back seat of the car. Thank you, Aunt May, but I have already woken up. Just as Ben Parker was about to follow his wife's instructions and turn down the music, a somewhat lazy voice came from behind them, as if he had not fully awakened. It's good to wake up, we'll be at our destination right away. Ignoring his wife's anger and staring into his own eyes, Ben Parker slowly spoke without looking back. Peter Parker, whose brain was forcibly restarted by music, could only respond lightly and then shake his slightly dizzy head. Although music does have a sleep aid effect, it needs to be classified into different types. This classic music by the Red Bone Band sounds like an ultimate musical enjoyment for people in this world. However, for him who has traveled from another world, it is another unforgettable image that slowly emerges in his mind. Because of a series of movies from his past life, he had a completely different impression of this music. Even though he was just asleep when he heard the prelude to this music play, a strange image still involuntarily appeared in his mind. A fool, with a divine body, standing on par with mortals and a Walkman attached to his waist, is twisting his slightly obese body with this dynamic music so much so that he had to wake up from his sleep. Moreover, the world he was traversing at this moment was exactly the world where the fool was located. The music continued, and in order to temporarily forget the strange image in his mind, Peter Parker could only find a topic to prevent his thoughts from being further influenced by the music. Uncle Ben, when can we change to a new car? This car is probably older than me, isn't it? Originally, it only took 2 or 3 hours by car, but this elderly old car has been walking for almost a morning. I'm afraid anyone would have the idea of switching to a new car. Why, you don't like my old buddy anymore. I don't know which guy he used to be. When he missed the school bus at school, he had to rely on me and this old buddy to help him. Uncle Ben replied somewhat jokingly. Uncle, I have been very punctual in the past few months. Peter said that what this guy did before traveling has nothing to do with his current self. That's right, you have indeed become punctual in the past few months, but you have also caused even greater trouble. Everyone dares to go to Osborne Company to steal things, and everyone's family has stolen it. If it weren't for your underage and because of your parents' reasons, you might still be locked up in the New York Police Department. Thinking of this, Ben Parker became very angry, and even at this moment, his face remained extremely serious. Uncle Ben, I'm sorry to make you worried, but I did it for a reason. Looking at Uncle Ben's pale face through the mirror, Parker could only explain in a soft voice. After all, as someone who has just traveled through this world and become Peter Parker, he naturally cannot resist the temptation to become Spider-Man. It should also be very easy to understand doing some unconventional things for this. Why? Are you trying to investigate your parents? There is clearly a difference in understanding between the two regarding Peter's reasons. Enough, Ben, we didn't come out to argue today. As she was about to continue speaking, Aunt May finally spoke out and interrupted the unpleasant conversation between the two. Sorry, Peter, I shouldn't have said that to you. Ben, who was interrupted by Aunt May, also realized that his words earlier might cause some harm to Peter. But your parents' situation is irreparable. You cannot give up your future because of them. You still have infinite possibilities. I understand, Uncle Ben and Aunt May, you don't have to worry about me. At this moment, Peter's tone seemed very calm. This child. Watching Peter's unusual calmness, the Parker couple in the front row exchanged a glance, with a hint of concern in their eyes. Come and get your love. The music continued, and gradually, the car was once again immersed in a peaceful atmosphere. And Peter's thoughts gradually returned to a few days ago when he broke into the Osborne Company alone. He, who was eager to gain power, couldn't wait to follow the normal trajectory of fate and become Spider-Man after being bitten by the spider of fate during a visit to the Osborne Biological Laboratory. After some preparation, he sneaked into Osborne Company and safely entered a laboratory with genetically modified spiders. Even though the alarm was triggered upon entry, he still managed to get a genetically modified spider to bite his arm before the security personnel arrived. So even if he was eventually caught by security personnel and taken to the police station, it still indicates that his goal has been achieved. However, as he was taken home by my uncle from the police station and after several days, he still has not awakened Spider-Man's ability. Perhaps the spider that bit me is not right. Next time, I will make sure that every spider bites me once. Peter, who had not successfully awakened Spider-Man's abilities, could only attribute the failure to the spider that bit him. And prepare to infiltrate Osborne Company again. At the same time, the originally cheerful music inside the car suddenly stopped. Then the voice of the radio announcer came out on the radio. Unexpected news. This morning, a car accident occurred on the Queens Bridge in New York. A family sedan was rear-ended by a truck and rushed off the bridge deck. Fortunately, as the car was about to crash, a mysterious person wearing a tight-fitting suit and a mask appeared, wrapped the vehicle in a special spider silk and pulled it back onto the bridge. Fortunately, only a small number of people were lightly injured and no one died in the end. According to the on-site police representative, Officer George Stacy, no human factors were found in the accident. For further information, please pay attention to subsequent reports. The news broadcast ended, but at this moment, Peter had only one thought in his heart. Did someone snatch my identity as Haoke? P.S. New book for newcomers, seeking collection, monthly and recommended tickets, those with investment frequency can invest. Thank you, big shots. Newcomers new book, seeking collection. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Spacecraft in the basement, new book for collection. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Chapter 2 Spacecraft in the Basement, New Book for Collection. Oh my goodness, I hope they can be safe and sound. The compassionate Parker couple expressed concern about the accident in the news broadcast and prayed that they could safely escape danger. However, at this moment, Peter Parker in the back of the car seemed to receive a heavy punch from someone on his head. He paid no attention to the extent of the casualties caused by this sudden accident, and the sentence kept echoing in his mind. A mysterious person saved the crisis with spider silk. Peter had no idea that he was still planning how to acquire Spider-Man's abilities next time. But someone had already awakened Spider-Man's extraordinary abilities one step ahead of schedule. Even at this moment, he demonstrated his powerful abilities and announced the birth of Spider-Man to the world. Undoubtedly, after today, the name Spider-Man will sweep across New York City and even the world. And all of this has nothing to do with Peter Parker. At this moment, Peter was like a wealthy second generation who was about to inherit billions of dollars, but at the most critical moment, he realized that he was not his biological child. Not only will the billions of inherited assets be set on fire. I even have to be kicked out and beg along the street. Such a huge gap is difficult for almost anyone to accept. And this also led to Peter still unable to fully accept the bad news until the Parker couple had already arrived at their destination in their car. Peter, we're here. Ben Parker did not notice the strong sense of loss in Peter's heart at this moment. Park the car in front of a farm door, greet Peter in the back row, and open the car door. At this moment, Peter, still immersed in disappointment, finally regained his composure and got off the car together. I have temporarily forgotten Peter, who couldn't become Spider-Man, looking at the huge farm in front of me, although it looked a bit desolate, almost a meter of weeds had already grown on the originally flat ground. However, there is also a unique beauty. Whenever a gentle breeze blows, it ripples like the sea, creating a burst of emerald green waves. Well, even if you can't become Spider-Man in the future, at least you can still be a farmer. If possible, who wouldn't want to be a handsome Spider-Man? Park Farm is the only property left to him by his parents for this body. Recalling memories of this farm in his mind, Peter felt a bit strange. He doesn't remember such a farm appearing in Spider-Man movies. It's been a whole year since we last came, and this place has become so desolate. It seems like we've been busy again these past few days. Looking at the overgrown farm in front of him, Ben Parker couldn't help but rub his already stiff waist. Listening to Ben Parker's complaint, Aunt May couldn't help but glance at him and then said to Peter, "Peter, let's go first." Ben shook his head with a smile and slowly walked into the farm. This farm is really not small. Even in the suburbs, with such a huge area, it should be worth a lot of money. Who said Peter Parker is a poor boy? This is a reliable future farmer. Only by entering the farm can Peter more intuitively feel the vastness of this farm. It took a long time just to walk from the door to the house where I lived. I saw several simple wooden houses perched on the farm. It has been a full year since they last came here. The house that was originally tidied up a year ago has now accumulated a thick layer of dust again. Uncle Ben pointed to the small wooden house on the far side and said to Peter, "Peter, let me and May handle the other rooms, and you can tidy up the warehouse. Is that okay?" Peter didn't answer, just took a step towards the wooden house. "Ben, let's just do these things." Why let Peter do them? Aunt May looked at Peter, leaving with love in her eyes. Uncle Ben responded with a smile, "May, he has grown up and it's time to become independent like a man. In my opinion, he is always a child at all times." On the other side, Peter has already arrived at the small warehouse. Just organizing a warehouse, he naturally has nothing to complain about. However, as he entered the warehouse and looked at the pile of useless miscellaneous items and a thick layer of dust accumulating on it, he still felt a slight breakdown in his heart. Isn't it taking an afternoon to tidy up? I haven't even had lunch yet. Peter couldn't help but let out a roar in his heart. In the end, he could only silently start sorting out the miscellaneous items. Fortunately, my uncle is not an evil capitalist. After an hour, Peter came to have lunch cooked by Aunt May. However, after finishing his meal, Peter needs to continue to come back and tidy up this warehouse. So, almost all afternoon, Peter spent organizing this warehouse. Clean and organize the materials and equipment that are not known to have any effect, classify and place them properly. Gradually, the originally chaotic warehouse also gradually became well organized. During the process of organizing, his memory of this farm gradually became clearer in his mind, including the memory of this warehouse. He remembered that his parents, who had this body, had warned him not to come here to play when he was young. Looking back now, it seems that there is some secret hidden here. Isn't there a hidden biological laboratory here? Based on the fact that the parents of this body are biological and genetic scientists, Peter believes that there may actually be a biological laboratory hidden here. Hey, even if there really is a laboratory, what's the use for me now? Can we use it to conduct biological genetic modification experiments on ourselves? If we can't become Spider-Man, will we become Fly-Man or Cockroach-Man? At this thought, Peter couldn't help but shake his head, putting aside these unrealistic ideas and continuing to organize the warehouse. Peter sat down on the ground and said, "It's finally over, but I'm exhausted." After spending almost an afternoon, Peter finally finished organizing this warehouse. In the corner, there is still a pile of metal products with unknown functions. Oh, it's really heavy. Moving the metal products from the corner one by one, Peter couldn't help but feel that his waist was about to break. Is this a basement? After moving away the pile of useless metal, Peter really discovered something unusual. It seems to be due to long-term disrepair, coupled with the heavy weight of this pair of metal products. The wooden floor below was unexpectedly crushed, revealing a hole. Peter couldn't help but lie on the floor, looking inside from the hole, as if he could vaguely see a staircase leading deeper, but it was pitch black and unclear what was there. It's really a mysterious basement, was it left by my parents? At this moment, Peter couldn't help but feel a little curious in his heart. After all, the parents with this body were assassinated because of their scientific research achievements. Anyway, let's go take a look and talk about it. Peter didn't believe that the sudden appearance of the basement could pose any danger to himself. After all, this is not a tomb fall, there are not so many mechanisms and dangers. Immediately, Peter found a flashlight and used a hammer to expand the hole to a size sufficient for himself to descend. Then he walked down carefully. Following the stairs layer by layer, Peter quickly made contact with the solid ground under his feet. Then, relying on the light of the flashlight, slowly delving deeper into it. What is that? Dinosaur eggs. As Peter carefully delved deeper, he found that at the end of the basement, there was no laboratory, but an oval-shaped, giant egg. However, it was not until he approached that he finally confirmed. No, this is not an egg, it seems like a spaceship. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Superman script loading, seeking collection, seeking follow-up. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Superman script loading, seeking collection, seeking follow-up, farm, basement, and an alien spaceship. Various familiar things combined and instantly formed a figure in Peter's mind. The sky blue tight-fitting suit outlines an incredibly perfect figure, and the S-shaped logo on the chest represents hope. Standing in the air, overlooking everything. The red cloak behind moves with the wind. Like a god on earth, powerful enough to make one shudder uncontrollably. So, I won't just. At this moment, although it was just an inner speculation, Peter couldn't help but feel his heart beating faster. This sense of tension is even stronger than the last time he infiltrated Osborn Industries and let genetically mutated spiders bite him. After all, this is Superman. Spider-Man's seemingly powerful power, in front of Superman, is not even farting. Superman wants to crush Spider-Man, just like how humans crush a spider. If he could obtain the power of Superman, even if it were not the various forms of Superman described in the manga, just a normalized Superman would be enough to give him an incredibly terrifying power. In the future, he no longer needs to worry about the various crises that fill the Marvel Universe. The steel body is capable of withstanding all attacks, and the hot gaze is also capable of destroying the bodies of all enemies. Even if a purple giant comes to Earth with gloves to collect diamonds in the future, he can teach him with one hand how to be a well-behaved baby loved by everyone. No, we need to calm down now. Peter's inner thoughts made him breathe quickly, his heart rate accelerate, and he took several deep breaths before gradually calming down. Subsequently, he could no longer bear the excitement in his heart and slowly approached the spacecraft ahead. However, although I am extremely eager to figure out what is going on with this spaceship. But Peter did not completely give up his guard. As I slowly approached, I also didn't forget to feel for a few broken stones on the ground. Shoo, dang. As Peter's stone glided through the air, it hit the spaceship with precision. Even a pig could hit such a large spaceship. Peter didn't care about his appearance at this moment and directly lay on the ground, protecting his head with both hands. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. It wasn't until he saw nothing happening for a dozen seconds that Peter slowly lifted his head. Afterwards, I tried to explore several larger stones and finally determined that there shouldn't be any danger when approaching. Peter finally stood up from the ground and couldn't wait to come to the side of the spaceship. Through the light emitted by the flashlight, upon closer observation, Peter was completely certain, this is indeed a spaceship. Although the outer shell of the spacecraft is covered with a thick layer of dust. But whether from the appearance of the spaceship or its material, Peter can confirm that this is not a product that can be produced by today's Earth technology, even in the Marvel world where black technology is constantly emerging. Looking at the spacecraft filled with a sense of technology in front of me, Peter can no longer tolerate the strong curiosity in his heart. Slowly reaching out his hand, he stroked towards the spaceship. When Peter's fingers touched the outer shell of the spaceship, buzz! With a strong buzzing sound, the spaceship, which was originally like a stone, suddenly came to life like a sleeping beast. Instantly burst into a strong but not dazzling light. The thick dust that originally covered the spaceship, along with countless gravel on the surrounding ground, seemed unaffected by Earth's gravity and floated up at this moment. Subsequently, it was attracted by an inexplicable force, gradually converging around the spaceship and slowly circulating around its hull in a unique way and according to rules. Such a wonderful sight may surprise anyone who sees it. However, at this moment, Peter, who was in between all of these, no longer had the heart to pay attention to all the strange phenomena happening around him. Because at the moment when his hand touched the spaceship, a special message suddenly appeared in his mind. Modify life, life is infinite. Welcome to experience the infinite life modification system. Your life is up to you to decide, is this a necessary system for travelers? With the sound of system prompts ringing in Peter's mind, he finally understood that he, like many other travelers, had the system as his golden finger. Congratulations host, your life script has been successfully modified and the new script has been loaded. Reminder. The new life script is automatically generated by the host's strongest inner desire. Life is like a movie, death is the end. How to write your new life script is up to you as more information about the system blends into Peter's mind. He finally understood. Everything that happened before was because the system was secretly helping him and gradually modifying his life. System, open my panel. In the information transmitted by the system, detailed instructions on how to use the system have already been provided, so Peter tried to give instructions in his mind. The next moment, a virtual image that only Peter himself could see appeared before his eyes in an instant. Name: Peter Parker, life script. Superman, formerly known as Lizard Man, character template. Normal Superman character abilities. Absorb stellar energy, awakened, iron body, inactive, superpower, inactive, superspeed, inactive, superbrain, inactive, superhearing, inactive, supervision, inactive, biological stance, inactive, hot sight, inactive, frozen breathing, inactive, character weakness. None, requested by the host's wishes, points. 0, points can be exchanged for character templates and props, etc. Points mall. Not opened, the system is amazing. Looking at the long string of abilities behind Superman's abilities, although they have not yet been activated, they are still impressive. Moreover, Superman's most important ability to absorb stellar energy and enhance oneself has awakened, and those abilities will awaken one by one after absorbing enough sunlight. The reason why Superman is powerful is that he can absorb sunlight to continuously enhance his own strength. Even at this moment, Peter, who had obtained the template for Superman, did not feel any changes in his body compared to before. However, he was very clear in his heart that as long as he was exposed to sunlight, his body would rapidly strengthen at a speed that ordinary people could not imagine. Until activating all the abilities that one should have. Perhaps soon, I will be able to personally experience the feeling of free flight. Everyone has a dream of flying, and soon, Peter will truly realize his dream of flying with his physical body and soaring in the clouds. Even crossing the universe in physical form. But what should this spaceship do? However, as Peter watched the spaceship created by the system in front of him, completing his modified life nodes, he didn't know how to handle it for a moment. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. The First Day of Becoming Superman, for collection. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. The First Day of Becoming Superman, for collection. In the end, Peter still did not move the spacecraft. Although this spacecraft was created by a system, it is no different from a real spacecraft. Driving it, you can also rush out of the Earth, shuttle through the starry sky, and explore the universe. However, considering that my superhuman abilities have not yet fully awakened at this time. Moreover, Peter now does not know how to fly spacecraft, as the high school he attended did not have a major in spacecraft flying. So Peter still left the spacecraft in its original position. When I fully awaken my superhuman abilities, I'll give you a comfortable home. After completely covering the entrance of the basement with a heavy object, Peter murmured to himself to the ground. Then, without looking back, he turned around and left the warehouse that completely changed his life's fate. Unfortunately, it's already evening without realizing it. It seems like if you want to bask in the sun, you can only wait for tomorrow. Stepping out of the warehouse, Peter found that the sun had set and it was evening. So even though he is so excited and eager to bask in the sun as soon as possible, absorb solar energy, and awaken superhuman abilities, he can only wait for tomorrow. Suppressing his inner excitement, Peter returned to the wooden house where they lived tonight. Peter, you came back just in time. Come and have dinner quickly. Coincidentally, when Peter returned to the cabin, Aunt May also prepared dinner. Okay, thank you, Aunt May. It seems that the reason for the change in constitution is that Peter found himself really a bit hungry. Unable to resist, he quickly arrived at the dining table and grabbed the dinner prepared by Aunt May, then wolfed it down. Aunt May looked at Peter, who was devouring food with care in her eyes, and said indulgently, "This child, eat slowly, no one is competing with you." Soon, Peter stopped. It's not that he's full, but that the dinner prepared by Aunt May is almost finished by him. I'll go to bed first, Uncle Ben, Aunt May, good night. Although Peter still felt some hunger in his body, he did not show it. Instead, he eagerly said good night to the Parker couple and rushed back to his room. This child seems a bit strange today. Watching Peter's eager return to the room, Aunt May couldn't help feeling a bit strange about Peter today. I guess I'm tired of organizing the warehouse. Normally, when he was this big. At this moment, I was habitually looking at the newspaper, and when I heard Aunt May's words, I slowly spoke without lifting my head. Don't look, eat quickly. It seemed that Ben's indifferent tone made Aunt May a little angry. She snatched the newspaper from Ben's hand and threw the remaining plate of sandwiches in front of him. "I'll eat now. You asked me to finish reading that report first." At this moment, Peter, who returned to the room, although already lying in bed, did not directly fall asleep. Instead, it summoned its own system panel. What is the origin of this system, that it can modify the reality of the world without anyone noticing? Previously, Peter did not carefully explore the origin of the system due to the huge surprise of obtaining superhuman abilities. But after calming down at this moment, Peter suddenly realized how incredible everything the system was doing. After all, modifying the reality of a world without any trace is definitely not a simple thing. Moreover, the world he is currently in is the Marvel Universe. There are countless powerful beings here that transcend the level of the universe, and on Earth, there is a powerful existence who knows the past and future. Forget it, everything I have comes from this system. What's the point of delving into its origins? With this time, it's better to carefully study the correct usage of this system. Quickly, Peter gave up the idea of exploring the origin of the system and carefully studied what other functions the system had besides endowing himself with superhuman templates. Points can be exchanged for items in the points mall. Without a doubt, the most important thing in the system is points. But how do I open this system mall and how do I earn points? Based on experiences from certain novels in his past life, Peter easily understood that integral is the most important existence in the system. With points, you can redeem more powerful things and abilities. For example, a more powerful Superman template seems to require enough points to redeem. After all, according to the description on the character panel, I now only have the template of a normal Superman, and my strongest performance seems to be similar to what was portrayed in the movie, Superman. Iron Body. And relying on the accumulation of time to evolve Superman's physique, it is unknown how long it will take. After all, in the manga, Superman absorbed energy from the center of the sun for thousands of years before eventually evolving into the Golden Superman. There are two ways to obtain points. The first is to complete the task published by the system, and the second is to change the life of the current world character. The more well-known the character is, the more points they will earn after rewriting their life trajectory. After successfully obtaining 1,000 points, the points mall will open on its own. Perhaps sensing Peter's inner doubts, a message resurfaced in his mind. Not only did it introduce the ways to obtain points, but it also introduced the conditions for opening the points mall. Changing the fate trajectory of famous figures. So if that arrogant maniac stops developing armor and instead learns magic, it should be considered a change in his destiny trajectory. Thinking of this, Peter seems to have understood what he should do in the future. Isn't it just changing the trajectory of others' destinies? I may not be able to protect this world with kindness like Superman, but like our motherland, making this world more chaotic is not easy. At this moment, Peter is already fantasizing about how to let the people of this world experience the awe of his homeland once his superhuman abilities are fully awakened. After all, no one has ever fantasized about doing whatever they want after possessing superhuman abilities. I really look forward to it coming soon tomorrow. In the infinite anticipation for tomorrow, Peter slowly fell asleep at some point. Dong dong dong, Peter, it's time to wake up and have breakfast. After breakfast, we also need to clean up the weeds on the farm. Early in the morning, while Peter was still drowsy, Uncle Ben's heavy voice sounded from outside the door. "I'll be right there, Uncle." It has been proven that even though he has become Superman, he still cannot avoid the fate of cleaning up the farm with my uncle. "Hey Peter, this one belongs to you, and that one over there belongs to me. Let's see who can clean it up faster." The huge farm, at this moment, seems like an endless grassland. When will this be cleaned up? Looking at a large area of weeds nearly 1 meter high, Peter's heart was shattered. Fortunately, the process of clearing weeds didn't delay me from sunbathing. At this moment, feeling the sun emitting strong light and temperature in the sky, Peter's superhuman bloodline is already starting to stir. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Iron Body, Awakening. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5, Iron Body, Awakening. Do on the open farm, only a strong noise kept roaring. The old-fashioned lawn mower, under the intense combustion of diesel, is like a runaway wild horse, making it difficult to control. And diesel is fully burned, mixed with the special odor emitted by aromatic hydrocarbons, which not only is not so pungent, but also gives people a special sense of pleasure. It's really comfortable. At this moment, Peter, pushing the lawn mower, is strolling on the open farm. Just like an idle old man strolling leisurely through the supermarket, pushing his car. The patches of weeds are instantly cut under the sharp blades of the lawn mower, and if viewed from a high altitude, this scene may look even more relaxing than a carpet cleaning video on a certain audio platform. Under the sunlight above his head, Peter couldn't feel any fatigue in his body. Even as time goes by, the sunlight becomes increasingly hot. He seemed to feel something special in his body awakening. Every cell in his body became exceptionally active under the sunlight. Like a plant undergoing photosynthesis, it absorbs sunlight and then releases tremendous energy. Such a comfortable feeling made Peter forget any fatigue. He even half squinted his eyes, enjoying the intense pleasure in his body. But the savage lawn mower, which he had to exert all his strength to conquer at the beginning, now seems to have become very gentle. Gradually, he no longer needed both hands to control, just one hand lightly placed on the handle, and he could easily control it. This joyful process finally came to an end until the sun had completely set. Drink, is this a feeling full of power? He clenched his fist hard, and Peter felt that he was full of strength at this moment. At night, Peter lying in bed was somewhat idle. The tiredness of the whole day doesn't show any signs of fatigue at this moment. Open my panel. Peter had a feeling that his body seemed to have undergone tremendous changes under just one day of sunlight. Name: Peter Parker, Life Script. Superman, formerly known as Lizard Man, Character Template. Normal Superman Character Abilities. Absorb Stellar Energy, Awakened, Steel Body, Awakened, Superpower, Inactive, Superspeed, Inactive, Character Weakness. None points. 0 points can be exchanged for character templates and props, etc. Points Mall. Not opened. Quickly browsing through his character panel, Peter almost immediately saw, Awakened, behind the steel body. Sure enough, the iron body in the ability bar is already in a state of awakening. Just receiving the sunshine for a day, the steel body's ability has awakened. Although this is far inferior to the Kryptonian warrior Zod, who awakened his abilities on the first day he arrived on Earth. But it is also much stronger than Superman, who only fully awakened after more than a decade. Perhaps it's due to my age at this time. Peter felt that perhaps the speed of ability awakening is also closely related to age. Moreover, this iron body seems more like a passive growth skill and should be the easiest to awaken. Those who have played games know that passive skills are the easiest to acquire, but they are also the most difficult to grow. However, when they reach a certain level of growth, they are also the most powerful. Well, continue tomorrow and quickly awaken other abilities. The passive steel body, after a day of sunlight exposure, could only make Peter stronger than an ordinary person. Don't say it can withstand the frontal baptism of nuclear bombs like in movies. I'm afraid even powerful bullets could have killed him. Lesser development, don't be reckless. Peter is eagerly anticipating the moment when other stronger abilities awaken. Congratulations to the host for successfully awakening their abilities for the first time. The mission has now been released just as Peter was preparing for his lewd development and had been mainly focused on continuing to bask in the sun and awaken other abilities recently. The sound of the system suddenly rang out in his mind. Wealth does not return to one's hometown, like a night stroll in a brocade robe. With superhuman abilities, you should demonstrate your strength to the world. But your life is determined by you. Please select. 1. Show the world that you are a kind and friendly Superman, solve an ongoing criminal act, and shout, "I am Superman," at the scene. Reward: 100 points, randomly awaken an ability. The first mission bonus is revoked after all abilities are awakened. 2. The greater the ability, the more reckless I become. Create enough scale chaos in the city. Damn it, Superman. I'm from my country. Reward: 100 points, randomly awaken an ability. 3. Everything is normal, hold on and continue to develop. The Sage of Godao is me. Reward: increase efficiency in absorbing sunlight tenfold within 1 day. 4. Go to his damn mission, I'll do whatever I want. Reward: write a free and unconstrained life. Please choose carefully. Looking at the several task choices appearing on the system panel, Peter fell silent for a moment. The first and second options have very rich rewards, but I am currently on a suburban farm far from the city center, and even if I want to, I cannot do it. Moreover, at this moment, with my newly awakened steel body and barely able to carry a shotgun bullet, it seems more dangerous and easier to expose my identity. As for the fourth one, smart people can tell at a glance that there is a problem. Maybe if you choose it today, the system will leave you in the next moment, giving you a free life. So, at this moment, Peter has nothing to hesitate about. Select the third one. Congratulations to the host, completing the task and receiving a reward. The efficiency of absorbing sunlight has increased tenfold within a day, and it will be activated on time at midnight. Note: if you violate the task requirements and expose your abilities in front of others during the reward collection period, the reward will stop immediately. 10 times the efficiency of absorbing sunlight, it seems that my strength can increase significantly tomorrow. In just 1 day, Peter's body had become so strong that it could almost withstand ordinary bullets. And tomorrow has 10 times the efficiency, like a battery slogan, 1 day is 10 days, and Peter can no longer imagine how powerful he will become. It's a pity that the reward time cannot be paused or accumulated. Only during the day can sunlight be seen, and the reward is directly halved. If there is another cloudy and rainy day tomorrow, it will be even more uncomfortable. I hope tomorrow will be a good day. With expectations for tomorrow, Peter unconsciously fell asleep. And in his sleep, his body was undergoing drastic changes at a speed visible to the naked eye. The originally thin and weak body seemed to undergo a earth-shattering transformation at this moment. Originally not too short in height, he was even taller by several centimeters in 1 night. And his body has undergone even greater changes. He, who used to have almost no formed muscles, now has a complete set of 8 abdominal muscles. The muscles on the arms are even harder like steel. The strong pectoralis major muscles can almost rival a player in the world who can compete with anyone in 5-on-5. However, such a huge change that occurred overnight made Peter feel a bit troubled when he woke up in the morning. The changes are so significant, it seems a bit difficult to hide. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Superman Spider-Man appears. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Superman Spider-Man. Appearing still the rural road leading to the suburbs. It's the same vintage Chevrolet, and there's a family of 3 inside. Unlike before, this time they returned home from the farm in Queens, New York. At this moment, Peter's mood was completely different from before he came. "'Cause it's hard for me to lose, in my life I've found only time will tell." With the right hand on the car window, fingers gently beat the rhythm to the soothing music. The sunlight shone through the car window on Peter's face, making him feel as if he had been painted with a touch of gold powder. Looking out the window at the constantly flowing scenery, Peter's mood was also constantly fluctuating. Gradually, he squinted his eyes and enjoyed the tranquility of the moment. This time, Peter didn't mind the old car being too slow. As long as there is sunshine in the place, it is like heaven to Peter at this time. However, any journey will eventually come to an end. I don't know if it's been too long, maybe a few hours. When Peter opened his eyes again, the scene outside the car had undergone a huge change. Tall buildings gradually emerged ahead. Pedestrians and vehicles that were originally almost difficult to see have gradually increased. The sound of pedestrians talking and vehicles honking intersect. Gathering into a noisy noise, Peter couldn't help but recall his unforgettable experience the day before. New York City is the most famous city in the Marvel Universe. Feeling the bustling city of today, Peter couldn't help but sigh in his heart. In the near future, this will become the most dangerous city in the Marvel Universe, and the wormholes appearing above the city will bring countless armies of Zeteri. Fortunately, the Playboy has not been kidnapped yet, and there is still enough time before the crisis arrives for me to continue to grow stronger. Moreover, even if a crisis is imminent, at this time, I still have the strength far exceeding that of the captain of the 55 team, which is more than enough to protect myself and my family. Peter, who has awakened some superhuman abilities, is not worried about the upcoming crisis. Just as Peter was getting a little distracted, suddenly a clear sound of tires rubbing against the ground came into his ears. Fortunately, it wasn't a car accident. Peter, who realized that it was not a car accident, gave up his ability to expose himself to protect Uncle and Aunt May. But instead, he pretended to be driven forward by the inertia of the sudden brake, and then asked in some panic, "Uncle Ben, what's wrong?" "Sorry, Peter, I didn't expect a group of pedestrians to suddenly rush out ahead." Uncle didn't expect that when the car was driving well, he would suddenly encounter a group of people demonstrating. Peter hasn't figured out what's going on with these group of protesters yet. A guy with a Spider-Man headscarf on his head, unable to see clearly, suddenly ran up to his car window and said, "Hey, buddy." Then Zilai, who was familiar with it, invited Peter in the car and said, "It seems like you're still in high school like me. Do you want to come with us to cheer for Spider-Man?" "I won't go, sorry." Peter politely refused the impulse to knock this guy over with a punch. "Okay, this is for you. I hope you have the opportunity to become a member of our Spider-Man fan club." Seeing Peter refuse, the guy didn't continue to entangle, but instead threw a ball of things to Peter from the car window. Then he continued to wear a headband and shouted the slogan, "Spider-Man is the messenger of justice," inviting pedestrians around to join them. It seems that we have missed out on something extraordinary. Carefully driving through the parade crowd, Uncle Ben couldn't help but let out a sigh. "That's right, I missed something interesting." Looking at the red Spider-Man headscarf in his hand, Peter's lips also showed a slight smile. At night, Peter lying in bed received the task once again after the system refresh. 1. Show the world that you are a kind and friendly Superman, solve an ongoing criminal act, and shout, "I am Superman," at the scene. Reward: 100 points, randomly awaken an ability. 2. The greater the ability, the more reckless I become. 3. The task options are almost identical to the previous ones. It seems that if you keep choosing the third one, these tasks won't refresh on their own. After staying on the farm for a full week, Peter also took on the third task of nearly a week. Open my panel. Name: Peter Parker, Life Script. Superman Character Template. Normal Superman Character Abilities. Absorb Stellar Energy, Eternal, Steel Body, Awakened, Supervision, Awakened, Super Hearing, Awakened, Super Power, Inactive, Super Speed, Inactive, Character Weakness. None points. 0 points mall. Not opened. With 10 times the efficiency of absorbing sunlight, Peter successfully awakened 2 superhuman abilities in just a few days. And the steel body, which he first awakened, has also crossed the stage of just awakening. At this point, although his body is still unable to withstand nuclear bombs, carrying an RPG and grenades is not a problem at all. And the speed and physical endurance are far beyond that of ordinary people. However, his most urgent desire to awaken his flying ability, which is his biological stance, has yet to awaken. That's also good, much faster than Superman in movies. Peter is already very satisfied, and still remembers that in the previous Superman TV series, the strongest Superman finally awakened his flying ability until the last season. Since you already have enough strength, it's time to change tasks. Actually, Peter was a bit impatient and went to try other tasks. However, which one to choose between 1 and 2. However, Peter was somewhat conflicted at this moment. No matter what, just choose it. Finally, Peter no longer hesitated and decided on the second option directly. The reason why he chose the second option is because he feels that if he chooses the first option, the subsequent tasks may follow the Superman route. Although he is Superman, he does not have the kind heart of a true Superman. I also don't like to be someone else's nanny. However, it's definitely not possible to just go out so openly, otherwise our house would probably be surrounded the next day. Since Peter is out to cause trouble, he naturally wants to hide his identity. Just as he was thinking about how to hide his identity, he suddenly saw something he had casually thrown on the table when he had returned earlier. Well, it's up to you. Grab the Spider-Man headscarf from the desk and find the Spider-Man battle suit from the wardrobe that has been almost forgotten by oneself. Then he dug out 2 small devices he had made after crossing under the bed and placed them on his left and right wrists. Well, besides the clothes being a bit tight, they look pretty good. Peter was very satisfied as he admired his heroic figure in the mirror at the moment. At the next moment, he opened the window directly and jumped down from the 2nd floor without hesitation. Superman Spider-Man, make it. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Spider-Woman, signed, collection required. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7 Spider-Woman, signed, collection required. At night, New York City formed 2 extremes due to the huge wealth gap between residents. Just separated by a street, it presents 2 completely different worlds. One side is full of paper and gold, like heaven. Struggling in pain on one side is like hell. When countless civilians have fallen asleep in order to have better energy for work tomorrow, the wealthy district across the street is still brightly lit and bustling. For those wealthy people, the beautiful nightlife has just begun. Similarly, for those who want to get something for nothing and make some windfall, this place is also like heaven. After all, this is a country full of harmony. Almost every moment, criminal activities are taking place. This is a remote alley at the junction of the civilian and wealthy areas. A group of trendy black guys are now blocking a middle-aged woman in the corner. Ah, help me, don't come over. Although I am very clear in my heart, in this seemingly harmonious city, it is best not to come out alone at night. But her family's serious illness, as well as her starving child, who was only a few months old, made her choose to take risks and find a more profitable job at night. However, although she was lucky enough not to encounter any accidents before. But the goddess of luck will not always favor a person. Until today, she was surrounded by a group of thugs. Don't come over, I have money, I'll give you all of this. Please let me go, my child is still waiting for me to go back. He hurriedly took out the change he had already prepared in advance from his pocket, hoping that these guys could let him go. However, she underestimated the appetite of these thugs. How could only a few tens of dollars in change satisfy so many of them? A burly figure wearing a classic Western cowboy brim hat, seemingly the leader of this group of thugs, slowly took the change from the woman's hand. Calmly straighten the money one by one, stack it neatly according to the amount, then fold it in half from the middle, and slowly put it into the buttocks of my jeans. Hee, madam, you wouldn't think that such a small amount of money would send the brothers away, would you? As he spoke, he slowly pulled out a silver-white revolver from his waist and skillfully turned it several times in his hand. The revolver that was spinning in the next moment suddenly stopped, with the muzzle pointing straight at the woman. Hand over your bank card and other valuable items, otherwise my gun will be fast. That's right, our boss is the most famous fast shooter on this street. Just be sensible and hand over the money as soon as possible, so we don't have to search for your body again." Watching the elegant Western cowboy movements of the boss, the other guys spoke up, flattering and threatening the woman. "No, no, my husband and children both need this money, please." Pointed at herself with a pistol, the woman was in great fear and screamed in exhaustion, praying for the mercy of this group of people. However, the Western cowboy who pointed his gun at her did not put down his gun, but slowly spoke up and counted word by word, 3. Unfortunately, he was not given the chance to count a second number when a silver-white spider silk suddenly shot out of the darkness, accurately hitting his wrist holding a revolver. "Who is it?" The gangster leader, who looked like a cowboy from the West, was shocked and lost his former elegance. However, the answer to him was a tremendous force, transmitted along the spider silk stuck to his arm. The immense force even lifted him up, his sturdy body as if without weight, and the revolver in his hand fell to the ground due to unstable grip. At the moment when he was lifted up by the spider silk, a figure suddenly emerged from the darkness. Kicked him hard in the face. The strong man felt as if his face had been hit head-on by a car. The whole person instantly flew backwards, and when in the air, a few teeth mixed with blood sprayed out of his mouth. I didn't completely faint until I hit the wall behind me. "Boss." The other thugs didn't even see what had just happened. I only saw my boss suddenly fly up and crash into a wall, and my life or death is unknown. Then I saw a guy wearing a black and white tight-fitting suit, a hood on his head, and a spider web-like pattern on it. I don't know when he had already arrived in front of them. No, it's Spider-Woman. A week ago, Spider-Woman's name echoed throughout New York City, and street thugs of all sizes knew about a guy who specifically caused trouble for them. At this moment, they instantly understood that the justice messenger who suddenly appeared before them was the Spider-Woman, who made New York City criminals feel scared. "Everyone, run quickly." At the next moment, the remaining thugs scattered in a flurry and ran towards the outside of the alley. Only one young guy seemed to have been scared out of his wits, his whole body paralyzed in the corner due to weak legs. Haha, that statement is indeed true. You don't need to run faster than a predator, just run faster than your companions. A black boy ran the fastest, far ahead of his peers, and was about to run out of the alley. Great, I'll be safe when I leave the alley. But before he could come and be happy, he found himself unable to move forward anymore, only one step away from the alley. And this step is like an insurmountable chasm. At the next moment, a tremendous force struck and he flew back uncontrollably. Immediately after, he was hit by a huge force and flew straight into the wall. Poo-poo in the next moment, several clumps of spider silk were completely stuck to the wall in a shameful posture. At the same time, his other companions also suffered the same treatment as him. Before they arrived and escaped from the alley, they were all glued to the walls one by one with spider silk in various strange postures. Like a bizarre mural. Hee, everything is done. Overcoming almost all criminals, Spider-Woman did not feel any difficulty. No, there's one more. However, the next moment, her spider sensation suddenly activated, and she almost instinctively turned around, shooting a ball of spider silk towards her back. How could it be? However, she almost never shot empty spider silk, and this time she did not hit the target. Because the threat she originally felt in the spider's sense of the target. At this moment, it has been grabbed by a mysterious person. I saw a majestic figure suddenly appearing in the dark alley at some point. At this moment, he was holding onto the neck of the young thug who had just collapsed on the ground but then picked up the revolver on the ground, preparing to sneak an attack on him from behind. Although using only one hand, it was incredibly easy to lift a person weighing tens of kilograms. Woo-woo. The little thug felt like he was about to completely suffocate as his iron-like arms held onto Fate's throat. However, at this moment, the mysterious person seemed to completely forget that he was holding a living person in his hand. But he looked at Spider-Woman not far away and spoke slowly in a deep voice. "Finally found you, Spider-Woman. This book has already been signed, and we hope everyone can help collect it and invest in monthly tickets. Those who want to invest can rest assured. Thank you all." End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Venom Spider. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8 Venom Spider. At this moment, Peter, dressed in a black spider suit, stared blankly at Spider-Woman in front of him. Almost identical to the familiar attire in the anime, the tight-fitting clothes outline an almost perfect figure. Wrapped tightly around her legs like black silk, making her figure more graceful and her legs more slender. At the next moment, Peter's supervision was instantly activated. The black spider tight-fitting suit worn by Spider-Woman almost instantly became transparent. So white. Cough cough cough, she is indeed her classmate, Gwen Stacy. As God's witness, Peter's true intention of using his perspective was definitely to determine the true identity of the Spider-Woman in front of him. Put him down quickly, he's about to suffocate and die. At this moment, Spider-Woman was not in the mood to wonder why this guy was looking for her, and she was still staring at her tightly. Although the other person's gaze made her feel uncomfortable. But as Spider-Woman, she can never see anyone die in front of her, even if that person is a notorious criminal. Oh, I almost forgot about him. Upon hearing Spider-Woman's reminder, the mysterious person finally remembered that he was still holding someone in his hand. Okay, he'll leave it to you. As he spoke, the mysterious man gently threw this guy towards Spider-Woman in front of him. However, in the face of such a simple action by the mysterious person, Spider-Gwen's body immediately became mentally tense, and the spider's sense that could predict danger in advance was instantly activated. Because the guy who was gently thrown over by the mysterious person now charged towards Gwen like a freshly fired shell. Her extremely fast speed, combined with the enormous impact it carries, almost instantly activated her spider sense. Gwen almost instinctively dodged to the side and narrowly avoided before the humanoid shell hit him. Is this guy intentional? Gwen was extremely angry as he narrowly avoided the attack of humanoid shells. However, at this moment, she couldn't go to the mysterious person to settle accounts in the first place. Although she successfully dodged the attack, the guy who was used as a humanoid shell to attack her had already flown out of the alley at an extremely fast speed. If not rescued, this guy will definitely not be able to survive under such speed and impact. Spider-Gwen, who couldn't see anyone die in front of him, turned around and shot a strand of spider silk without any hesitation. Great, caught. Her spider silk accurately hit the unlucky guy who was thrown away, but before Gwen could feel happy about it, he suddenly felt an incredibly powerful force passing from the spider silk. Hiss, so heavy. The powerful force seemed to take Gwen out together. As if unwilling to accept defeat, Gwen grabbed the spider silk with both hands and said, "Damn it, stop it for me." This is the first time that Gwen has used all his strength after acquiring extraordinary abilities. A force weighing over 10 tons is enough to punch and explode the body of any ordinary person. But at this moment, it was just one person who reluctantly grabbed that guy and threw him out casually. Under the pull of two huge forces, even the characteristic spider silk was almost broken. However, the guy who was thrown out was ultimately powerless to succeed and was successfully pulled back by the Spider-Gwen with all his might. Did you just do it intentionally or accidentally? The unlucky person who had already fainted was casually glued to the wall with spider silk. Spider-Gwen turned around with great solemnity and looked at the mysterious person, questioning him. Sorry, I said it wasn't intentional. Can you trust me? Peter, hidden under the Spider-Man mask, slowly spoke up. I believe in you. How could Gwen believe what the guy in front of him said? Who the hell are you? Why do you have to dress like this? At this moment, Gwen finally had the opportunity to carefully examine the mysterious guy who suddenly appeared in front of him. However, looking at the all-black spider battle suit he was wearing, if he added some white or red stripes, it seemed to match better with what he was wearing. Ah bah. Gwen suddenly felt a strange and inexplicable sensation. Who am I? You can call me Tobey Maguire. Or. Under the dim moonlight, the black spider on the mysterious person's body appeared even more mysterious and eerie at this moment. You can also call me Venom Spider. Venom Spider. Can't you? Impossible, how could you? Gwen felt incredibly incredulous that there could be someone in this city who, like himself, had been bitten by a spider and gained extraordinary abilities. That's right, like you, I was once bitten by a spider with a mutated gene, which gave me such extraordinary power. What you don't know is that there are actually more than one mutated spider, but a total of 2. The one that bites you is only female, while the one that bites me is only male. Peter, who had put on his venom vest, began to spin nonsense with the Spider-Gwen. How could this be possible? Spider-Gwen felt that this information was too absurd. But the next moment, she seemed to suddenly remember something and spoke with some uncertainty, cautiously asking, so our relationship? That's right, our relationship is exactly an archenemy. Peter's voice suddenly became cold. What? At the next moment, in Gwen's astonished expression, Peter suddenly raised his arm and a strand of spider silk shot out from his wrist, aiming straight at Gwen in front of him. Under Peter's sudden attack, Gwen's spider sense was instantly activated, successfully evading the spider silk shot by Peter in an extremely dangerous position. Immediately, she didn't pause at all and reached out to shoot a spider silk at the nearby tall building. Then the body took off instantly, grabbing the spider silk with one hand and falling onto the tall building, looking down at Peter from a high position. Tobey Maguire, right? I don't know exactly how your abilities came about, but it's definitely not what you said. At this moment, Spider-Gwen seemed to suddenly regain his composure and slowly analyzed. You shouldn't have listened carefully in biology class, otherwise you should have realized that female spiders are more powerful than male spiders. And sometimes it feeds on male spiders. After Gwen finished speaking, he didn't give Peter any chance to refute, and he jumped straight down from the tall building. The graceful and slender body continuously rotates in the high altitude, like a flexible female diver performing a difficult maneuver in the air, with a 360-degree aerial twist of 7.5 times. At the same time, 2 strands of spider silk were instantly shot from both wrists towards Peter below, but both were easily dodged by Peter. But the avoided spider silk stuck directly to the ground. And Gwen in the air also used the power of spider silk to adjust his posture and kicked Peter fiercely with his feet. For extraordinary individuals like himself who possess powerful abilities, Gwen does not hesitate to give his all. Jade. Peter, who was still maintaining his supervision at the moment, saw a different scene before him, as if he did not feel any danger. It wasn't until Gwen's foot was about to kick him in the face that he finally slowly lifted his arm. Bang! With a muffled sound, Peter's body did not move at all, but his feet made 2 deep footprints on the ground. On the other hand, Gwen was shaken far away by the powerful anti-seismic force, rolling in the air for a few laps and landing on the ground. Although the posture was not very awkward, Gwen's heart couldn't help but sink. This guy called Venom has such great power. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Second route cars stopped on the 8th floor, for collection and pursuit. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. The second bus stopping on the 8th floor. For collection, for follow-up, Gwen didn't have time to continue lamenting why this guy named Venom possessed such terrifying power. Her spider's sensing ability was instantly activated again. Damn it, it's too late. But the opponent's speed is really too fast, even Gwen, who has spider sensing, cannot avoid his attack in advance. Relying solely on instinct and crossing hands to protect the chest to alleviate the opponent's strength. Boom. The next moment, Gwen felt as if he had been directly hit by a train. Even as strong as the spider Gwen, the whole person was instantly blasted out at this moment. Peter, who showed no mercy for his beauty, suddenly unleashed a terrifying force and punched Gwen away. He couldn't help but learn from the laughter of the classic villain. Jia jia jia. Damn it, who invented this villainous and unique laughter? It's really unpleasant to hear. Unfortunately, Peter, who was disgusted the next moment, hurriedly put away his smile, which was like a mental illness. Bang! Then his legs suddenly exerted force, and he instantly chased after Gwen, who had been knocked away, like a shell. Hello, is that the police station? I need to call the police. Two Spider-Men are fighting. What? I didn't report it to the fake police, I saw it with my own eyes. As Peter disappeared into the alley, the woman who had just been robbed by a thug finally stood up trembling from the ground, took out her phone trembling, and dialed the alarm number. Just now, she was too scared to make any sound. I'm afraid that guy with the most abnormal laughter will notice me. Boom. On this street that isolates civilians and wealthy residents, a figure flew out of a small alley at an extremely fast speed. It wasn't until it hit an office building next to the street several tens of meters away that it finally stopped. However, the tremendous impact even smashed a huge deep pit into the walls of the office building. Hiss, it hurt so much. As a delicate girl, Gwen has never suffered such a serious injury since childhood. Unexpectedly, she became Spider-Woman, possessing unparalleled power that ordinary people could not match, but instead suffered such severe damage for the first time. Damn it, that guy's here again. Finally enduring the excruciating pain on his body, he pulled himself out of the deeply buried wall. However, before Gwen could recover, he saw a familiar figure rushing out of the alley once again. And the goal is to directly target oneself at this moment. This time, Gwen, who was well prepared, ultimately relied on his agile body to roll a few times on the wall in a somewhat awkward manner, successfully avoiding the center of the opponent's attack. Boom! And the next moment, Peter's terrifying attack instantly hit her previous position. Immediately, a powerful roar erupted, as if hit by a missile. Under the outbreak of terrifying force, the entire office building seemed to have suffered an earthquake and shook violently. The central wall has already cracked, and the cracks are spreading rapidly in a spider web pattern towards the surroundings. At the same time, a huge invisible shock wave swept through and instantly shattered almost all the glass on the entire wall. Meanwhile, Gwen, who was close to the bombardment, was thrown away like a burlap bag, directly flying tens of meters away. As she was about to smash heavily onto the street, Gwen's wrist suddenly shot out a spider silk, gradually stopping her falling body. And with the force of the impact, the whole person swings towards the distance like a swing. Humph, it's not just you who use spider silk. At this moment, looking at Gwen who seemed to want to escape, Peter did not give up pursuit, and a strand of spider silk also shot out from the spider silk launcher in his hand. Then, like Gwen, he used the power of spider silk to ripple between the tall buildings in the city. After just crossing into this world, Peter made some preparations in advance to become Spider-Man. This includes the spider battle suit on the body and the spider silk launcher. At this moment, although he is not the real Spider-Man, he relies on his exceptional physical strength and agility, almost no different from the real Spider-Man. Okay, there's still a difference between me now and the real Spider-Man. However, confident Peter was quickly slapped in the face. After all, today is still the first time he has used the Spider-Man spider silk launcher cosplay. So it is reasonable that one is not very proficient in using spider silk. Well, after chasing several streets, Peter comforted himself by not only failing to catch up with Gwen ahead, but also by gradually widening the distance between them. However, don't forget that what I'm playing now is a cruel villain, and the messengers of justice all have a common and fatal weakness. As Peter watched Gwen run further and further, he prepared to unleash the consciousness he deserved as a villain. At the next moment, Peter gave up swinging on a tall building with spider silk. But instead, it landed on the street, randomly selecting a car parked in a parking spot, smashing the car window with a punch, grabbing the A-pillar with one hand, aiming at Gwen, who was still wandering in the high-rise buildings ahead, and easily swung the entire car out. Hee, although that guy is powerful, he still lacks experience as Spider-Man. Watching himself about to leave the other person far behind, Gwen's heart felt a hint of happiness for the first time. Still coming. With the sudden activation of the spider sense, Gwen almost instinctively used the power of spider silk to deflect his body from high altitude to the side. Whoosh! At the next moment, a car almost brushed past her body. Subsequently, without reducing his momentum, he directly hit a tall building next to him, but fortunately, there was no explosion scene like in the movie. This guy is really damn. Gwen, who was somewhat frightened and undecided, couldn't help but look back, but this one glance instantly changed her complexion. The guy on the ground who claimed to be Venom actually lifted a car again and threw it directly at him. The key point is that there is also a middle-aged man in the driver's seat of this car, who is now scared and screaming uncontrollably. Whoosh! A car broke through the air again. But this time Gwen couldn't dodge like she did just now, because her belief as Spider-Woman made her unable to give up rescuing every innocent person in danger. Firstly, with the help of spider silk, the graceful body leaped up as if hanging upside down between tall buildings, successfully avoiding the frontal impact of the car. Then, taking advantage of the moment above the vehicle, several strands of spider silk were quickly launched onto the body by Gwen. Then, utilizing the pulling force of the spider silk and its own strong enough force, after breaking several strands of spider silk, the enormous impact force contained in the entire vehicle was finally removed. Well, that's it. Looking at the only unlit window on a tall building not far away, Gwen used spider silk to slowly sway these two cars over. While with the sound of the window breaking, a car suddenly rushed into the room along the window. Hi, hello. Looking at the couple who were originally entangled in bed, scared to the bottom of the bed by their sudden intrusion, the driver in the car greeted them with a somewhat panicked and apologetic greeting. "Fuck, how on earth did you drive the car? This is the 8th floor." The almost frightened man cursed at the driver who was stuck in the window and couldn't open the car door. P.S. Seeking collection, seeking follow-up reading, seeking investment, seeking rewards, thank you all. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Samsung Good Citizen, Seeking Collection, Seeking Follow-up. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10 Samsung Good Citizen, Seeking Collection, Seeking Follow-up, in the bedroom of a high-end apartment in Queens, New York. Ding-ling-ling. The sudden ringing of the bell woke up a middle-aged couple who were sleeping soundly in bed. "Hello, I'm George Stacy. What happened?" The man did not hesitate to answer the phone at all. As the director of the New York City Police Department, although only a branch, he was equally aware that whenever his phone rang, he had to answer it. "Director Stacy, Spider-Woman has appeared again in the city. And this situation is very tricky, you may need to personally come and preside over the situation. It's this Spider-Woman again. Although it is still unclear what exactly happened." But George Stacy had already sat up from the bed and said, "What the hell is going on?" He quickly put on his clothes while asking for detailed information. "Director, we are not very clear about the specific situation. We just received a report from a citizen who said they saw two Spider-Men fighting in the city center. At first, we thought someone had called a fake police officer, but then we received more than 10 consecutive calls from citizens, all claiming to have seen two Spider-Men fighting in the city. Several streets in the city have become extremely chaotic due to their fighting, and the casualties at the scene are currently difficult to determine. However, we have already notified the hospital and fire department, and all the police officers who are still on duty at the moment have been dispatched to support us. Sheriff, what should we do next? Please give us your instructions." The police officer on the other end of the phone quickly and orderly reported the situation at the moment, and then waited for the instructions of the sheriff. Notify all police officers who are currently not on duty at the police station, those who are sleeping call me to wake up, and nearby police officers to rush directly to the scene. Call on all the weapons and equipment that the police station can mobilize. This time, we need to completely solve this guy wearing a spider mask. Also, send a helicopter to my residence to pick me up. After quickly giving instructions, George ignored the reaction of the police officer on the other end of the phone and hung up directly. At the same time, he was dressed neatly, wearing his own police badge and gun. Without even having time to greet his wife, he left his residence directly. This time, I must personally unveil your mask and show all citizens of New York City what kind of face is hidden beneath that terrifying spider mask. At the same time, the battle between the two Spider-Men finally awakened all the residents of the surrounding streets, making the originally quiet night as chaotic as day. What's going on? I don't know, what exactly happened there? Countless onlookers who were on the outskirts and didn't know why walked onto the street, wanting to get closer and see what was happening. However, the crowd who escaped from the battle scene wished to have 2 extra legs and quickly flee this dangerous scene. In the chaotic central area, police officers have already arrived and quickly evacuated the surrounding crowd. With their strength, they are unable to intervene in the battle between the two extraordinary beings. I haven't seen the cars on that street at this moment, and I can hardly see a few of them still intact. They don't think their physical bodies can be even harder than cars made of metal. After all, it's only a few $1,000s a month, so there's no need to lose your life for it. Being able to assist in evacuating people up close is already a sign of their courage. At this moment, countless vehicles were transformed into Bomb Madman Peter and thrown into the air as weapons at Gwen. Meanwhile, Gwen flexibly evaded attacks from unmanned vehicles while also paying attention to rescuing vehicles with people present. This makes it impossible for Gwen to continue using his flexible skills to escape. Gradually, she was about to be caught up by Peter behind her. Until she rescued another unlucky person who had just experienced roller coasters. Her spider suddenly sounded a warning. Oh, shit. Gwen, who has always been known for her gentleness and beauty, is now so angry that she wants to curse. Why does this damn guy keep chasing me and not letting go? However, the inner curse cannot solve the current dilemma. Because she had previously rescued countless innocent people, her strength has now been greatly depleted. At this moment, even if the spider senses the crisis in advance. But some tired bodies are completely unable to react instantly and avoid it. A familiar voice and a sticky feeling behind it. Make Gwen very clear about his current situation. However, she had no time to break free from the tangled spider silk behind her. I feel a tremendous force coming from the spider silk. The next moment, she was pulled down directly from a height of several tens of meters. The body crashed into a car that had been abandoned by an unknown guy, and when he hurriedly escaped, he forgot to close the car door. Bang! The terrifying force smashed the entire car flat. Even worse, this time I don't know if it triggered some bad buff. The car that was hit unexpectedly exploded like in a Hollywood blockbuster, with a terrifying heat wave engulfing Gwen. Well, that's how it feels to have a blockbuster feeling. It should be enough to complete the task now. At this moment, Peter did not urgently continue to pursue Gwen, but took the time to summon his own system to see if the task was completed. I'll go, don't lie to me. This level is not enough. However, looking at the unfinished task, Peter could not help roast in his heart. Since the scale is not enough, let's continue to make some big moves. Without much hesitation, Peter once again turned his gaze to the area where the explosion occurred in the distance and said, "Jia jia jia." Cough cough cough, why are you still a bit accustomed to it? With Peter's gaze, a figure suddenly jumped out of the center of the explosion and flipped several somersaults in the air. Then he landed in front of Peter in a very handsome superhero style. However, If we don't pay attention to the tight spider battle suit she is wearing at this moment, as several large holes were burned out due to the high temperature generated by the explosion just now, and her large white skin was exposed, then her posture is indeed quite handsome. With his eyes fixed on Peter Gwen, it was not because of her graceful figure or the fair skin she was revealing at the moment. After all, he with perspective eyes has already seen cough and cough. Peter just felt, isn't her knee painful when she lands like this? Watching Gwen kneel on the ground with the leg that had just broken a hole in his knee. He couldn't help but feel a slight pain in his knee. Tobey Maguire, you have successfully angered me. Gwen slowly looked up, feeling the coldness even if he couldn't see his eyes. This is the first time Gwen has been so embarrassed since becoming Spider-Woman. In her eyes, Peter in front of her has become a heinous and unforgivable criminal. Schwa. However, before Gwen could vent his strong anger, two beams of light suddenly descended from the sky, illuminating their figures clearly. Sudden protrusions. Two helicopters have been hovering over them at some point. Woo woo woo. Shihishi at the same time, with the sound of a siren blowing from far to near, followed by the harsh braking sound of the tires suddenly crossing the road. Several police cars have surrounded the two people in groups. Oh, I finally understand. If you don't get enough stars, how can it be considered a chaos of sufficient scale? End of this chapter.